What is the origin of the Last Ronin? Well, we've been covering that with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin, The Lost Years, telling the story of how the Last Ronin went from just being the last turtle to the greatest warrior in the turtle family. Michelangelo's adventure has brought him all the way to a fighting arena where he made friends with an individual only to have that individual murdered by the owner of the arena. If he can free himself from the arena, he can finally get his revenge on Deathworm for destroying the new home that he had created for himself. And if he can defeat Deathworm after 15 years of chasing this man down, then he can go and avenge his family. This is the Comicstorian channel, where I bring you audio dramas of comic books that are currently out, such as today's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin, The Lost Years, issue number 5. The purpose is so that you know what comics are awesome and what you should be adding to your collection. And now let's get into the story. Michelangelo looks down at the body of Shaka in Finn's traveling gladiatorial arena. "We have a winner!" Finn shouts over her megaphone, and somebody walks over, grabbing Mikey's hand, throwing it in the air. "You're champion! The Turtle Titan!" she shouts, but the crowd isn't cheering. They're angry that they didn't get to see a final fight after Shaka tried to kill Finn, forcing her to blow up the bomb in his neck. Mikey grows angry, pulling away from the goon holding his hand and charging the goons, dragging Shaka from the arena. "Let go of him!" he growls as he kicks them away, and Mikey stares down at his friend, the rage boiling inside of him as he reaches for a fallen sword whirling on the crowd. "Come on then! You want your money's worth?" he snarls, lashing out with the blade, cutting off a person's ear. "I'll give you your money's worth, all of you!" he bellows, but Finn has ordered her guards to close in, tasers being fired, hitting Mikey in the head, dropping him to the ground. Later, Mikey awakens with a gasp, looking around to find Finn and her goons standing over him, a doctor reaching for his neck. "Ah, there you are. I was starting to fret that the Shocker lads had juiced you up a bit too much this time," she says with a smile. The doctor reaches for him, but Mikey moves fast, grabbing the man's arm and twisting it around until he screams in pain. But Finn puts up her hands and tells Mikey to calm down. "The good doctor's only trying to shut off those bombs in your neck. Your promised reward for being our newest champion. A win's a win and a promise is a promise," she tells him. Mikey pauses for a moment before releasing the doctor, letting him deactivate the bombs. The goons step forward, dropping Mikey's belongings on the table. Mikey pushes through his pack quickly, finding Splinter's old journal right where he left it. "Once you're all dressed, you're free to go wherever you wish. Do what you want," Finn says as she prepares to leave, but Mikey grabs his sai, moving fast, wrapping an arm around her throat and pulling her close, the tip of the sai pushing against her neck. "What I want is your boss," Mikey growls, and Finn pauses for a moment before bursting out laughing. "Enough! Just tell me where he is or I'll kill you," Mikey growls in her ear, but Finn finally relents, telling the Ninja Turtle that the last they heard from Deathworm, he had set up shop in Italy. Mikey releases Finn, making his way out of the camp. Afterwards, they watch as the warrior departs, and Finn's goon question why they didn't just kill him, and Finn smiles. "Oh, but we have killed him. The journey I sent him on, he's as good as dead," Finn says before returning to her life. And so the journey of the Last Ronin begins. Michelangelo begins to make his way across the world, endlessly followed by memories and spirits of those that he failed in the past, but he ignores them all, even when his brothers begin to endlessly chatter. Eventually, he finds himself in Italy, tracking Deathworm's camp to the Roman gladiatorial Colosseum. The spirits of his brothers are impressed, and it is Leo that asks Mikey what the plan is. But Mikey has already begun to pull out his gear, wrapping a dark mask around his face. "There you go with that stuff again, Leo. There's only one plan. Same plan we've had for the last 15 years. You three stand around running your mouths while I take care of business," Mikey says, slipping into the shadows and making his way to the Colosseum. A grappling hook allowing him to climb up the side where he looks down on Deathworm's training camp. Plans begin to form in Mikey's mind, but he grits his teeth as he remembers something that Raph said years ago. "Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do." Mikey draws one of Leo's katanas and a handful of smoke bombs, dropping the bombs into the camp and leaping down. The trainees are confused, coughing from the smoke as Mikey begins to move through them, slashing with his blades, demanding that Deathworm face him. His blades stab, taking the heads off of their killers until the smoke clears and a warrior stands before him. "He's mine!" the killer says in Mongolian as he pulls off his coat, and Mikey nods. Finally! The large warrior leaps at him, but Mikey manages to dodge the attack, slashing the man across the back. He gets back up, drawing Raph's side, throwing and hoping to keep the warrior off balance. But the blade stabs the man that Mikey believed is Deathworm in his head. Wait, what? Too easy, he says with a shake of his head, but a voice sounds from behind him. Yeah, it was, the voice says as an attack hits Mikey in the head, knocking him to the ground where he is disarmed. How many times did I tell Kuyag that charging in like a feral beast would be the end of him? The voice says, and Mikey manages to turn, finding a thin, middle-aged man standing before him. No way! You're Deathworm? Mikey gasps, and the man smiles before whirling and cracking Mikey across the head with his staff, drawing blood that begins to run down his face. Do not be deceived by my appearance. Deathworm continues to press the attack, explaining that he knows Mikey is the monster that his men encountered in the mountains long ago. And now here you are, after all these years, seeking vengeance for something I barely remember. Deathworm laughs, picking Mikey's fallen sai up and whirling on the turtle, explaining that all life is meaningless. That leaves only death, and here in my world, I am that death, Deathworm says before throwing his sai, but Mikey moves fast, catching the blade. Deathworm nods. Huh, so you're not as weakened as you appear. He notes, drawing his own blade, ordering his men not to interfere with the battle. Mikey and Deathworm launch at each other, their short blades locking together as they trade blows. But Deathworm twists, lashing out at Michelangelo, knocking his sai aside and cutting him across the arm. He then charges again, but Mikey centers himself, blocking the blow, cracking Deathworm across the head. From his back, he draws the taser tonfas that he gained from the Mongolian tribe that had become his second family. Do you remember these? They remember you. Mikey snarls, pressing forward, bringing the tonfas together across Deathworm's head, the energy coursing through the man's body as he falls to the ground. Mikey whirls on the remaining thugs that worked for Deathworm. Your boss is right. He is dead. Anyone want to follow the leader? Mikey asks the group, but the men don't hesitate, turning to run away, leaving Mikey alone in the arena. He turns to leave, stopping to pick up the big warrior's coat, putting it on, and then he moves away from the city, arriving at the docks. Finally, having defeated Deathworm, he realizes that his mission of vengeance isn't over yet, and he slips aboard a tanker ship, settling in for the long journey back to New York. Hiroto Saki is next. But in the current day, our new turtles are getting ready, as Casey's preparing her students the best that she can, and now she is ready to stand with them as they defend the city. And there you have it, the finale to the Lost Years. We now have the origin of the Last Ronin and the Last Ronin story, but they've already announced a sequel and a video game. This is probably the coolest idea that the Turtles have done in years, and I'm excited to see where they're going to go with this. So let me know what you think in the comments down below, and also, what do you think about the announcement of the video game? Are you excited to see what they're going to do with this? Don't forget to do all the YouTube jazz, the like, subscribe, all that kinds of stuff. And if you want early access, sign up for our YouTube memberships, and I will see you next time right here.